Hello. Thanks for coming back to watch another chess game with me. I have been experimenting with a lot of bullet in the last couple of days. And I am not a speed chess player, but it's fun. It is fun. You swindle some wins, you have some maddening losses. I think bullet might be very handy for me to test out some new openings. Not that I need to. I have a very good understanding of the opening, and it's the middle and end game I need to work on, but it might be time. It might be time to adjust my search parameters. There we go. Okay, so we get the white pieces this time. Don't tell me my opponent's not going to give me a gain. There we go. Scandinavian, which I will transpose into a Blackmar Diemer. Usually the knight or the bishop, and I offer up a gambit. And I'm going to auto take that back. If he does capture. He doesn't. Okay. So let's threaten the knight. We'll be threatening to remove a defender and take back in the center. And usually that prompts them to go ahead and take the pawn. Okay. So he defends the knight, which is going to defend the pawn. He's not gonna take the gambit. Okay. So in this situation, I think I'm going to develop my queen and get castled queenside. Find a place for this dark square bishop and wait as long as I can to develop this knight, which isn't the best principle for chess, but he's got to do something over here too. So I want him to show his cards a little bit more. If he opens this up and self pins, then that removes the defender. I think he really has to kind of decide what he's going to do here in the middle before he could try and fianchetto. That might trap. That won't trap. Would that trap his bishop? 1, 2 attackers. Okay, he attacks the bishop. He wants to force my hand first. So let's retreat. See if we can't invite some weaknesses. Okay, he's going to fortify here. Let's just get castled queenside. Decide where I want this bishop. If he gets cavalier and tries to push this pawn, I can push in the center, I think. Can attack me again. Then maybe I take in the center with the knight. Maybe I do that without pushing. Maybe I just take in the center without pushing and offer it up. I'm offering to gambit the pawn anyway, but this way I don't get the the tempo gain, really. It's the whole purpose of my gambit. If I take in the middle and he takes back and I take and he takes, I'm down a pawn, but I don't get the tempo gaining move that I want with my gambit. So he's going to attack and open up the king side, which I don't know. I don't know how wise that is. Like maybe you can get away with it. Um, Played a game a couple days ago. This starts to resemble that gambit out of the Caro Khan, which is the cousin here of the Blackmar Diemer, Rosa Studier Gambit. So I'm tempted to put my bishop here just to discourage the queenside castling. But after that last game, I'm not sure that I mind if he queenside castles. Here or here. Here defends my pawn. But here has more activity and I can fight for this square. So here it is. He can attack it again. But then I don't know what I do. Well, maybe I just take in the center. If he attacks with the knight, I take in the center and I get my pawn back. I get a pawn. Oh, yeah, I do get my pawn back because currently I am down a pawn. He has 8 and I have 7. So I'm trying really hard to give him that pawn still. And he does attack. So I can take in the center, threaten his bishop. If he takes, I take back. I've opened up my rook. Maybe that was hasty. Perhaps I should have considered taking the bishop. Now without the dark square bishop, I think he might ought to consider queenside castling. He moves his bishop here and I block. The knight or the bishop? Let's get the knight developed. Might be looking at a sacrifice here because it's pinned currently. He needs to develop that bishop. It's probably his next move. And I need to get my bishop into play. He might consider, okay, he does develop the bishop. I thought maybe the queen here might be an option. So the pawn is no longer pinned. But I do want to get my bishop developed. Never worried about him taking the knight because I get to undouble my pawns. Okay. Now I'm kind of curious about getting a rook over here. Hmm. I'm expecting queen to c7, attacking my g3 square at some point. and probably castling queenside. I think the queenside castle is probably safer than kingside because I have open lines of attack here. Um, but I think about rook e1, maybe with an idea of d5. So if rook e1, queen c7, e5, castles, takes on e6. I don't know. Maybe I push. Maybe I go queen to e3. Kind of has a little bit of an eye on g3. Opens up my rook on the d file. It's looking this direction to a7 if he does castle queenside. And right now there's no threat of bishop to f4. That would be a problem. But at the moment, I mean, I just need to move my king off. I think that's my move. Okay. Just a good central square for the queen. And lets me know, it kind of punts, lets me have a chance to see what cards he's planning on playing. Opponent's from Germany, and I have not played them before. Okay. He does play queen to c7. So he's got an eye on g3. He might be castling queenside. Queenside's probably the direction I would go. There's not really an easy way to defend this pawn. I mean, the knight's got to move. I could drop the queen back, but then my queen maneuver is a little silly. But hey, sometimes you gotta admit you messed up and uh, just move the piece twice. But I think this is a better square for the queen. But the problem is the knight. Where do I put the knight? If I bring it back here, where is it going? What future does it have? And my queen is just stuck defending the pawn. Is the pawn even worth defending? What if I threaten to break the center? Takes. D5, c takes d, bishop b5. Let's break in the center. He can have this pawn if he wants to, and I will start tearing away at the center. with his king still there. Now castling queenside looks less attractive too. Takes with the c pawn. I've got this square for my knight. And that tactically defends the bishop from the queen, at least. Okay. I think that's a pretty easy decision. He takes with the queen, and now he might be threatening dangerous things here. But my pawn's defended now. I think he's in trouble, though. I do prefer white. He needs to take back, or he's just down a piece. And then I take a pawn. Which pawn? Probably the e pawn. He took with the bishop. Okay. So he is threatening my pawn now. But I still am not too worked up about that. He can have the pawn. Oh, no. If he gets the pawn with the bishop, he can come back and pin the king, the queen and king. Okay. So maybe that's a slight concern. I think I have an opportunity for the queen or two pawns and a rook. No, right now he can take back with the bishop if he takes the bishop off. But that still comes back and that skewers the king and queen. I need to get my king off of that diagonal. There's also the option of retreating the knight, but this knight is much better placed here. Let's just get the king off the diagonal. When did I leave my rook hanging? Uh, the exchange hanging, not the full row. I guess that's been a minute. I moved the knight. That's right. I took with the knight. I gave him. Maybe I should have probably looked at moving that. I could have moved the king after he took the pawn. I've just given him the exchange. And I don't see why he shouldn't take it. Hey. Well, I'm in trouble here. Well, I'm gonna have to get quite lucky. But there's still some play here with this king. Got three pieces around his king. So kind of around his king. This queen can always come back and guard the back rank, so he can come here and deliver check, but he's got to come back, I think. Otherwise, I might get some sort of perpetual. If he comes to the E file, I can open up a discover. Maybe here. Hmm. Okay, he decides to check. Can he afford to grab pawns? I don't think he can afford to grab pawns. That might be too greedy. He's pawn grabbing. Not sure if I have anything better than this perpetual here. If he tries to go here, ah, yeah, he comes backwards. That's a thing. I don't have many options here. I'm just hurting. Might be some tricks here, though. Takes the rook. I check first. Seems like I check first. I might have a shot here at getting the rook, but he's got a lot of pawns. I come here and round up the queen or the pawn, the advanced pawn, but I may get the rook out of this and be up a piece for, let's see, I have four pawns. He'd have five if he gets this one. I think maybe swinging the rook over here so that the king will defend it. But then maybe I can skewer. Okay. I'm just going to get the rook and see if I can swindle this back. Check. Okay. He's got a perpetual. Does he have a perpetual? Can I afford to come out and block? I come here and he comes back. Come up. um, he takes. I block with the bishop. He checks here. I don't know if the bishop by itself can round up these 4 pawns without any help. I don't know about that. This might be a draw. Best case. I'm going to come this way, and I'm not this way, but if he comes back to check, I guess I'm forced up. He can take then, and I have to come back. But I do want to leave the queens on the board, I think. Ugh, he's going to, by block, he's going to check here, and then pick up this pawn too. And that's a lot of pawns for the piece. He doesn't even take the pawn. I think he just wants the perpetual. He's just, but now does he have it? Can I block here? Oh, he checks here. Okay. Checks here, but then I drop back. And checks here. I block again. I don't know that he has it. I think I can avoid the perpetual now. He should have stayed on the light squares, I think. He grabbed this pawn because 4 on nothing. I don't think my bishop can stop. I mean, he would have taken the pawn with check. It's not like he was allowing me an opportunity to start claiming pawns myself. I don't even know if I'm gonna take that one straight off. I might throw in checks because my queen is pretty out of play here. I don't know what his thought process was behind that move, but I'm pretty sure he should have taken the pawn instead of playing queen c2. He can check me here. I can drop back. He can check me here. And if I slide over this way, he can check here. If I slide this way, just 1 square, he can check here. So maybe I block with the bishop again. And there are no more checks then because the queen's on a dark square. And I guess he might be threatening this. He checks and I block. He's got this move, defending his pawn and threatening d4, winning a pinned piece. So I like my chances of the bishop and a pawn stopping these four over here. And if I can trade queens here, I will. I think that's smart. If I can undouble the pawns as well, surely he won't be that gracious. What does he do instead? Now do I check or do I defend the pawn? If I defend the pawn and he checks and I just pop up, queen doesn't have anywhere immediately. I suppose queen could come here, but okay, that would keep the queen out of the check here. But I could just check here. I want to defend this pawn. I think that's the right idea. Don't want to just leave it hanging loosey-goosey. And now he's on a light square, so coming here, can check here. If he comes back, I pick up the pawn. Tries to go this way, I go queen to b6. This is the b file over here. I'm the white pieces. So this was not c2. This was f2. Someday I will get my squares and coordinates and all that stuff lined out, but what? Did you not see that the queen takes that? That's just a free queen. Maybe he was just hoping I would blunder it, but that was unnecessary. I think he had a pretty good chance at a perpetual by taking this pawn instead of, I think. And I mean, if it's not, it seems pretty tricky for white to avoid the perpetual. Okay, up and down game. I played it with 79.5. 6 great moves and 1 blunder. Okay. Blackmar Diemer. It's a book line, and this was a questionable move. What do I do? This is usually my idea, though. Oh, okay. Let's just go ahead and attack the bishop again and claim more space. I think I've looked at this before, and I forget to play that idea. Just keep claiming space. They're going to give it. Okay. I'll have to look at that a little deeper because that looks kind of tricky. If the bishop drops back, am I really threatening to play h4? Can he take here? And then if I develop the knight, this pawn hangs. If I take with the queen, this pawn hangs. I'll have to look at that a little deeper. And this pawn, I can't take with the queen. This pawn would hang, and that's sometimes I don't mind giving that up, but I don't know. I got to look at that. Okay. Another questionable move. An inaccuracy. It wants me just to take the pawn back. But what do computers know anyway. Ah, mistake. I'm assuming it wants me to block with the bishop, or maybe block with the knight here. Probably the bishop. Yeah. Oh, I didn't mean to play through quite that rapidly. But didn't go too far, I guess. This was a mistake. Breaking in the center was a mistake. Give him a full pawn edge. What are my ideas otherwise? First, let me see why. Okay, why this is a miss. Because I thought I had this, but then now that I'm looking at this, I think he might have. Oh, no, he doesn't. Okay, so bishop b5 pins the knight. And he takes this pawn. Maybe. I don't know. Definitely, it opens up the attack, but I don't think he's threatening this because I have 3 pieces. And that's square. Hmm. I'm not sure. I'll have to look at that a bit deeper. And this, I gave him the exchange here, and this was my blunder. The king slide was a blunder. I should have saved my rook. Definitely. I definitely should have saved my rook. Oh, that was a mistake on his part, but my blunder. Ah, that's an interesting idea. If he takes, I take on f7. And then I get to take back. I like that position for white. But as it is, gave up the exchange and gave black a significant advantage. Why is that a miss? I don't just want to hang my queen, so the queen needs to go somewhere. I don't think I want to trade queens either. Queen a5, staying on the open diagonal, but then what about bishop back? I suppose the purpose of this is to defend here and prevent black from taking and opening up my king side, my castled king position. That is a consideration because that is an excellent move, shattering my my defense around the king. And he goes pawn grabbing here. This was a miss. Best move is over here, attacking this weakness. But hey, he went for it, and he has an edge. And I think he can draw this out and make a perpetual, but might be the best I'm hoping for. Should he have come to the... Oh, he should have just come back and accepted the perpetual. Because if he comes over here, I am threatening to open up the position, and comes back here. I bring the queen in, check. King down, queen over here, check. That's, yeah, that looks scary. And this is where I got the rook, and I think maybe in here he might have. I shouldn't have brought the king out. But if I bring the king back, I mean, the queen is defending here. So if I bring the queen over and allow another check, king back in the corner, check, king up, check. That seems like a lost cause for me. Unless I can climb and maybe block with the bishop and a pawn. Whew, games are not my strong suit. Okay. I did say that was a miss. He should have taken the pawn here. He should have taken that pawn. No reason not to take the pawn. But white still has an edge, even with these 4 lone pawns over here. This looks very tricky and complicated for white to avoid just checks on the dark squares. I'm gonna have to play that out. Well, thank you for watching this, Blackmar Diemer, and come back and enjoy some more chess with me.